This is Grapplers Talk.
What is up, fans of Grapplers Talk? We are coming at you with another awesome episode each and every week. I just want to say, first of all, thank you everyone for downloading the podcast and listening in on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, on YouTube. Thank you all for your continued support with the podcast. We're dedicated to bringing you awesome content with some of the best grapplers in Northern California, but we're going to expand to all over the country. So tune in each and every week for a new guest, a new topic. I am thrilled and to have the final boss, I'm going to say. If you're a wrestling fan and you follow The Rock, you know what I'm talking about. But the final boss, the final Foster brother. We've had Kalani Foster on. We've had Alika Foster on. And I'm honored to have the youngest brother, Cyrus Foster, on, man. Thank you for being on this episode, brother. Welcome to Grapplers Talk, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great being here.
Yeah. And I wanted to have you on, man. We were talking a little bit before the show about, like, your dad's a very dominant personality, right?
Yeah,
and even your brother, man. When you see him out at the events, and he's always got a crazy outfit on, yeah. And he's got his crew, and he's always laughing and having a good time. But you're a little bit more reserved, a little bit quieter, man. So I wanted to get you on so we could hear from you.
Yeah, it's great.
Recently, you were promoted to black belt, man. And first of all, I just want to say congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment, man, especially at your age, man. That's huge. And I think if you train jiu-jitsu, obviously you're training for a purpose to get to that point and to continue your journey, but it doesn't stop there. And I just wanted to, first of all, let's introduce you and tell your story about how you got involved into grappling in general. I know you have a little bit of a wrestling background, so let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Honestly, I don't really remember much thinking back, like, at all. But I know that my dad was always in, like, mixed martial arts. And my brother, I started wrestling for one reason or another when he was younger. And my dad was fighting at MMA gym at the time.
Yeah.
And that's how he got into grappling. He would bring my brother over there too at the ice box.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like running around. I wouldn't be training. I was like hella little.
Yeah.
But anyway, I first got into like grappling, like submission grappling, like catch wrestling. And my brother started wrestling. I started wrestling too. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And so, like, when we had your dad on, he was talking. He was like, yeah, Cyrus was just like a baby at the time, running around, getting staph infection on the couches and whatever, like.
I didn't get staph, but those couches definitely had it.
Yeah.
Those couches definitely had it.
I trained there back in 2007 on and off for some fight camps with Steve Heath. And that place, like, I could still smell the smell in the building. I could still see those big old, like, wooden beams that they put the boxing ring in. And, that place really was like a gym out of a movie, a Rocky movie.
Yeah.
And do you remember much of that, like growing up, or is it just kind of vague memories with that?
It's pretty vague. It's mostly, like, just hearing the timer and the bell ring all the time, watching everyone train, and then, like, that stale must. It's not like a strong must, like a wrestling gym. Like, yeah. Even if you just walk in before anyone's like been there since last night.
Oh yeah,
it was like super strong. It's like a stale kind of must.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
I remember, like, you could look up and, like, you could see the specks in the whatever it was, asbestos, dust, I don't know, but you could see the shit floating in the air.
Yeah.
So that was a crazy time, but. So what age did you kind of get into wrestling? Was it pretty young, or?
I want to say I was like 7.
7.
That is probably around 7.
Pretty young. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so was it mainly like just because your brother was doing it, just trying to like keep up with them, and obviously he had to go to practices, so was he just dragging you along, or were you really interested in it at that time?
Well, I was interested because, like, obviously, like, especially at that age, like, you look up to your older brother. We're, like, 7 years apart.
Okay.
But I think it's also because, like, it was good for, like, the family. Because you see, like, a lot of families have, like, 2, 3 kids. The kids are doing, like, 1, 2, 3 different sports, so the family's really like spread out.
Yeah.
They don't really get to go to like certain events. So if he's gonna wrestle, they're like, okay, now this little guy's gonna wrestle too. Who's gonna bring them both at the same time? They're gonna drill and whatnot.
Yeah. And so you obviously wrestled for, quite a while. What age do you remember getting into jiu-jitsu?
I remember getting to jiu-jitsu. I think I was about 14 when we started doing gi, like a lot at least.
Yeah.
Or maybe no, it had to be before that.
Yeah, you could have been.
My brother
even
was still in
younger.
high school.
I remember seeing you. Man, I want to say you were like a yellow belt or a gray belt or something.
I never had a yellow or gray belt.
What? So it had to have been one of the youth belts. Did you or white belt maybe?
Yeah, I was white.
Okay, so it was at Andre DeFrias's tournament. Do you remember that? It's probably like 2016, 2015 in there.
2016, 2015. We had just joined Aries.
Yeah.
And like maybe a week after we joined Aries, I got signed on for a fight to win, super fight. And the dude who I was supposed to go against was an orange belt.
Oh, okay.
And Samir was talking to me and my dad and Kashino were too. And they were like, look, Cyrus cannot go in with a white belt against an orange belt. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
So we're going to give him an orange belt and he's going to compete with that orange belt. And I was like, so I'm just wearing that on the stage, right? It was like, no, that's your belt now. Here's your promotion. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I got to the orange belt and then, I was already, I was competing in Naga tournaments, like even when I was like younger, before I was a teenager. I would go like the teenage division and adult division too. So I'd enter like blue.
Yeah.
Or whatever category that was back then. But I couldn't wear a blue belt until after they promoted me to blue belt after I turned 16.
Right.
But they were allowing me to compete in blue at what's it called? IBJJF.
Wow. That's pretty impressive too, like being a young man and getting that kind of respect, to compete with those higher level guys. And, I remember you not that long ago, man, like you were way younger than me, obviously, but like you were good, man, dude. Like your game was so solid. I remember rolling with you and Alika at like a 5 a.m. class, and we're getting ready for one of Alika's fights. And dude, like in all honesty, man, you gave me so many fits. Like we were going back and forth, and I was like, this guy's like, he's a kid, man, and he's just whooping my ass. Like. I was a grown man at that point, so I was really impressed with your game from a very for a very long time. Even watching you in that Andre DeFrias tournament, like dude, your skill level like was beyond its years, and obviously that's good training. That's starting at a young age and stuff like that. But also like, dude, you're a natural when it comes to it. Like,
thanks.
So talk to me a little bit about like those early competitions. Like what was your mindset going into them, like being that young of a kid?
If I'm being totally honest, like that Andre tournament, I don't remember the tournament. Wow. I only know that it happened because a couple years back, there's a family that came in to the dance studio where my mom teaches. And the mom, like her younger sister, like I knew them from growing up. And I went to school with the younger sister. I had like a crush on her, like swear, like most of like my younger years and like in high school. And she showed me a picture. It's like, hey, like this is a picture of like you and Kat. Like, you remember this tournament? I was like, I don't remember the tournament, but I do remember seeing you guys in that parking lot. So that makes sense. Like I was trying to remember why was I in that parking lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like that tournament, I don't really remember much about the like old tournaments.
Right.
I was just like, I need to get in there, get a submission quick, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I really didn't know you guys all that well at that point, but I was training over. I was doing jiu-jitsu with Dennis Shingu at Rodney's place.
Oh yeah.
And Rodney and Dennis and all of them were over there, and I remember I was helping coach the guys or something like that, and I heard them all screaming. I'm like, what is going on over here? Like, is this one of our guys going? So I ran to that side of the mats. And they're all like, Cyrus, hey, keep going. Your dad's there. And I'm like, who are these people? But hell yeah, this kid's on fire, man. Like, and I just remember the crowd was really hyped for that match, man. And you did really well in it. I don't quite remember the outcome, but you did really well. And I saw a lot of potential back then. So
I think I do remember that one.
Yeah.
It was probably the first time like any kind of tournament setting where my Uncle Rodney saw me competing.
Yeah.
I was like, and he was like the closest guy. I was like, dude, one of like those guys, I was like, I looked up to aside from like my dad and my brother.
Right.
I was like, I gotta do good.
Yeah.
I gotta do good.
Yeah. I just remember like even like we were just all standing on that side. I could see it in my head right now. Like everyone just screaming, "Come on, side, come on!" Like Rodney was really into it, and you know, rest in peace, Rodney too, by the way. But yeah, it was just a great experience. You know, being there and seeing you at a young age, and now seeing where you're at, like, and all the growth in between, dude. Like you've literally grown up into like a fierce competitor, a great coach. Like I see you at Jiu-Jitsu World League, and you know, you're cool, calm, collected, doing your thing, you know. But man, you really have a lot of talent in this, and even achieving the black belt at 23, right? Or 22?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you know, that's not very common nowadays. Like, you know, I'm 36. I'm still chasing the black belt. So, you know, you're definitely doing something right. You're with a good team. Talk about having your dad as a coach, right? That's not something we all have the pleasure of. And sometimes, you know, you're held to a different standard with that. So talk about that and what that means to you and kind of your dad's approach to coaching you.
Yeah, having my dad as a coach is definitely a big blessing. I didn't really notice it until, you know, I was like 18. But I would like look back and like my friends and stuff, like whenever we would go to like their events or like if I did a sport with them and we like went to a tournament together and like their dads might not even be there. Yeah. Or they're just like on the sidelines. They're like not really like there. Like they're there to support, but they're like scrolling through their phones, just like biding time and stuff. And like nothing on them, you know, like is better than like acting like they know what they're talking about, you know? Having my dad like in the corner is probably the best thing that could have happened for me, like in jiu-jitsu, definitely.
What's your guys' like coaching style? Like, you know, your dad was talking when he was on our podcast a while back, and he was saying like, you know, his favorite thing is to go and kind of like lock in with them, you know, and you know, where he knows what you're doing, he knows your game so well, so he's just really kind of pressing the buttons on the controller, you know, and and that's kind of how it goes. But you know, is he a little bit harder when it comes to like wins or losses or anything like that, or?
I'm not. I wouldn't say he's necessarily harder with like any of our competitors, like win or loss. He's only hard with if he sees like a lack of effort. Yeah.
And you know, having your brother, like obviously an older brother too, that's a you know, well respected grappler, dude. Like, I mean, you're always chasing, you know, that older brother thing, right? Like the Nick Diaz thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you look back, like everything that Nick did, like Nate pretty much did as well, right? You know,
pretty much.
The vegan diet, you know, the
that looked miserable,
right? Dude, I saw a little clip they posted of Anthony Bourdain, right? And when they went on his show, and Bourdain's talking about like cheeseburgers and stuff like that, and Nate and Nick are both like, yeah, we don't eat that. Like, that's got to be bad.
You need protein, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, having that older brother to chase, talk to me about like training with him and kind of like how he's helped you develop your game as well.
Yeah, training with him, like not even just grappling, but wrestling too. That helped a lot too. It gave me like that standard aside from what I already had in my head. Like in my head, I was like, all right, I need to be better than him by the time I'm his age.
Yeah.
You know, or like I need to like do enough to make him proud. But he would like set that standard while he would like drill with me, or set me like with, say I was like 9 or 10, and set me with like the freshmen on his wrestling team to drill and stuff.
Yeah.
He like watched me, tell me what to do, what to fix. It he just showed me like his perspective.
Yeah.
And like showing me his perspective as he coached me on the side too, aside from like our pops coaching us on the side too. It got me out of my own head.
Yeah.
It just like gave me a path to follow. Like each time we're on the mats together.
Right. It's a little bit easier, like having that example, right? Like you have a clear map of how to get there instead of, you know, kind of figuring out on your own.
Yeah.
That's always tough. Do you guys like have intense little training sessions like the Rotolo brothers, or how's that work?
We'll every Sunday.
Yeah,
we'll
every
roll
Sunday
together.
you guys turn it up.
Yeah, we'll roll with everyone else and stuff, but I always try to make sure to get at least like one round in with him.
Yeah,
either whether he approaches me first or I approach him.
Yeah,
it just depends.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's solid, man. And you know, I know talking to your dad, he was talking about his injuries and stem cells and different things like that he's gone through, and he's like, man, I would just love to have like Cyrus take this jiu-jitsu thing over one day and you know, keep these guys going. And obviously now that you're at the black belt, like it's a very achievable task, and especially even at a young age. What are your goals for jiu-jitsu, like in grappling? Like where do you want to be in, you know, 5 years from now?
I want to keep teaching for sure.
Yeah.
Whether or not I do open a school in the next 5 years or after, it's just about finding the right business partner for me, because I'm horrible with money.
Yeah.
Like my life has been train. And like as far as money goes and like parental advice, I'm sure they've told me things, but if it wasn't related to anything we did on the mat, it went in one ear and out the other. Not because I didn't want to know it, because like I don't understand what the
Yeah.
What do you mean taxes?
Yeah.
Like,
there's not arm bars and taxes,
right? Like I don't have a savings account.
Yeah.
Like I was looking back when I was like 19, I was like, I've been working with like a W-2 different jobs since I was like 16. I have nothing in my savings. This is horrible.
Yeah. You know, but you got plenty of time. You know, that stuff, like a lot of people don't even figure out that stuff till they're way older in life. So
yeah, it's way better now. I just need to work on my credit score now.
Yeah. That's how it goes, man. When I was young, dude, same thing, you know, I wasn't very responsible with that kind of stuff. And it's crazy because now, obviously, being a business owner, it's like you really have to be on top of that shit, and you got to make sure your bills are paid, you know, or you're out of business. So
I get calls from a bill collector and I'm like, when did I subscribe to this?
yeah. Oh, dude, that's the worst, right? The subscriptions.
Yeah, I was scrolling through my phone. I was like, why do I have 3 Crunchyroll, 2 Hulu, and 2 Netflix accounts? I don't even use my own Netflix accounts.
Dude, like it's wild. Like, for a while, I was paying for like HBO. Ew. I was paying for 2 of them, and they're $15.99 a piece. So
the original one, and then the updated like Max.
Yeah, the Max.
And they're still charging you for the original one. They don't use that platform anymore. It's like, that's horrible.
Yeah. Dude, it was awful, man. And then like you get that. I subscribe to Flow Grappling as well, right? And that's they only charge you like once a year. So like you forget, and then all of a sudden it comes up, and it's like, whoa, that's $150.
Yeah, you're down to $150. I was like, what is this? And it just says FLG.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. And you know, it's funny, man. Nowadays, especially with those subscriptions, it's wild. Like I always got to be checking my shit and trying to make sure I didn't subscribe to something. You know, you do it for like quick trial or something, and then all of a sudden you've been paying for it for 2 years.
You forget to unsubscribe before the free trial ends.
Yeah, that's how they get you, man. But talk about your training regimen. How often are you training? How many times a day? How many classes you guys doing?
As far as how many classes we're doing, let's start there because I'm gonna forget about that. My dad teaches 5 a.m. like every weekday.
Yeah.
And then there's an 11 a.m. class too from Monday to Thursday. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, we start off with a kids class at 5. At 6 on all of those days, we also have a 6 p.m. class. And then only Tuesday, Thursday, we also have a 7 p.m. class.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you guys have a good spread out schedule too. That's awesome.
Yeah,
like gives a lot of different people, no matter what they're doing, time of days to train. Like that 5 a.m. Like if you're somebody that works late hours or commutes or anything like that 5 a.m. class
super
is
convenient.
Crucial. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
even if you're an early worker, like 7 a.m., you can still make it to that 5 a.m. class and get a good session in.
Yeah, definitely. I used to do that one.
Yeah.
I got really lazy about 2 years ago, and then now I'm only there if my dad and my family's doing like a little family trip and they're out of town.
Yeah.
And I'll do the 5 a.m. class like for that like week or two and try to not miss one.
Yeah.
But
that's the tough class, right? That's one of the more
that's the
intense
comp
classes.
Class. That's the comp class. Yeah. Those are like the guys who are like really like dedicated into like getting themselves out there, you know?
Yeah.
And like
trying to make a name, right?
Yeah. And like I don't get to train with them as much because a lot of them do have like those crazy shifts, so they don't get to come to the night class. And that's really like the only class I've been consistent on like the past couple of years because I've been really lazy. But like just seeing them compete, even if I see them like only 1 or 2 night classes like a month because they can only really make it to 5 a.m. Like it's really awesome seeing them out there and seeing them like get to like be proud of themselves and everything.
Right. Now you mentioned something like getting lazy, right? So how do you keep motivated? Like for as long as you've been training, as long as you've been on the mats, right? Like after a while, like sometimes you can get burnt out, right?
Yeah.
And so like to avoid that burnout, like how do you keep yourself going with that?
If I'm being totally honest, you can put off being burnt out. Like I believe, like whatever it is, whether it's work, school, training, self betterment, anything.
Yeah.
You know, you can feel the burnout coming. You could try to push it back, but you can't really stop it. So, you know, you can just let it happen.
Yeah.
Just try to keep going, whatever it is. Try to keep pouring part of yourself into it, you know, so you don't lose it completely.
Right.
Just keep doing it. It's like you lose motivation, fuck it, you don't need motivation to do it.
Right.
Like the only motivation you had to start was because you already walked in the door.
Yeah.
You didn't really have any motivation before you walked in.
Right.
So just keep going.
It's kind of a battle sometimes, like but
Yeah.
it's all in the mind, right? Like
Yeah.
you control that mind and you can control your outcome, right?
Yeah.
So but yeah, so talk to me about like nowadays, like where your head is at in jiu-jitsu. Like obviously you're doing a lot more coaching and stuff like that. What's your approach to coaching? Like what kind of coach are you? Like there's, you know, obviously your dad's got a certain style with his competitors, you know, but he also said that he likes to tone it down for the hobbyists and the evening classes. So talk to me about your approach to coaching and kind of what it means to you.
My approach to coaching, at least, I definitely can't be a coach like my dad. When I started out, like, you know, coaching in tournaments, at least, I would try to mimic his style, and it just wasn't good on me at all. Yeah. Like, he's that way because
he's that way.
He's that way, you know? Like, I'm not like him.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't coach like him because it doesn't make sense coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So
people look at you kind of funny, right?
People look at me like, yeah, we had one of the guys, he would like come in and help before like he hurt himself, and then his work hours got super crazy. He'd be like, be watching me like coach classes and stuff. I was like, hey man, why you cussing? I was like, what you mean? It was like, calm down, fool. You're not like that. You're not like you're not even angry. You're just angry at yourself right now. He's like, they're not listening. I was like, just speak up.
Yeah.
You don't gotta cuss. But
yeah, it's funny though. Like, I mean, obviously, like you can fall into those habits being around your dad a little bit, right? Come on, motherfuckers.
No, it's not even that. It's not even like just being around him. Like I've been like around like a lot of people, and I know like at least I think I know how like not pick up certain habits if I don't want it.
Yeah.
But I see that how he coaches works, and it took me a while to realize that it works because that's him.
Yeah.
I just had to find like my way of coaching.
Right.
And it's like him like tone it down for the hobby. It's like I coach mostly the kids.
Yeah.
Like full-heartedly. Like I see them just throw down on the mat. So like I will pour like everything into them. Like they're I'm very proud of them.
Yeah.
Like some of them do need something more like that, but I'll coach them like my way, you know? Because they're going to get his way from him, you know, either way.
Yeah.
And that's not bad at all. I can't do that.
Right.
But like some of them I am more intense with because that works for them. And then some of them are more like if they make a mistake or like they're confused with something, they need more like a
loving
passive
approach. Yeah. I get it. And it's more important for you to be genuine to yourself, right? Like instead of a false imitation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because if you're trying to coach like Trevor Whitman or you're trying to coach like Greg Jackson or somebody that you're not, like it's just not going to be the real thing.
Yeah.
Like, and people are going to have a hard time really buying into your system as well. But being a kids coach, man, that's like a crucial thing, right? Because, you know, kids can get discouraged very easily, you know, and you know, it's much more different than working with an adult, right? These kids are an empty vessel, right? And they're kind of fresh into it. So getting to build that foundation and getting to work with these kids, talk to me a little bit about like how you encourage the kids, right? Like sometimes these kids get discouraged or, you know, like the biggest thing, right? Kids cry, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, something will happen or a match won't go their way or, you know, they'll lose something and they'll start crying. And so like what kind of approach do you take with the children?
It's not so much what I try to do like when I talk to them, it's just what I make sure I don't do. Yeah. It's like the number one thing that like really irks me, like whether it's kids or just even people like my age, like to be honest, like people in my generation are so soft. And I just
you
don't
said
want-
it, not me.
You know it though.
Absolutely, it's
But-
different, man.
Yeah. So like the one thing, especially with the kids, and like also like 100% with the adults, at least like the ones who come in and they're young and fresh, like their minds are starting out. But more so with the kids, I just try to not be enabling.
Right.
So like if they lost, whether or not like I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's okay, like I'll be like, look, you tried your best. Just we'll work on this and this. You're gonna go out and throw it down next time.
Right.
I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's okay, don't cry. Like, look, if you need to cry.
Yeah.
Like you want to go in the corner, I'll go in the corner with you.
Yeah.
It's okay to let that out. You don't want to cry in front of your parents and your teammates. I totally get that.
Right.
Just don't hold it in. Come to practice next week with all that bundled
Yeah.
up anger and freaking cross-face the crap out of your teammates and break their nose.
Yeah.
Don't bite somebody in your next match.
Right.
Just let it out, reevaluate, try to recollect
Move
yourself.
on from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a rule here with my kids' classes. I don't allow crying on the mats, right? So
Yeah.
you can cry. That's completely fine, but you got to get off the mats and kind of go do it by yourself over
Go
there.
do it during the water break in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I came from the old school. So, like, I definitely understand kids feeling those strong emotions because they're not used to it, right?
Yeah.
But, I also think, allowing them to throw a fit on the mats or cry, because they lost something, like it's not needed for the class.
Yeah, definitely. Like, definitely got to encourage them to keep themselves composed at least.
Right.
Especially if they're not used to doing that.
Right.
You can tell too, like, nothing on any particular parents, but you always know, like, when a kid doesn't get, like, tough parenting, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And like
Little
when
bit
they're
of tough love.
Yeah, when they're like parents just allows them to like just throw stuff around and like just yell and scream
Yeah.
all until they fall asleep or whatever, until they're too tired to keep
Yeah.
going. But you gotta like just shut that down real quick. It's like, hey, that doesn't work here. All right, whatever your parents do at home, that's your business.
Yeah.
But not here.
Well, and sometimes too, like nowadays, there's all kinds of different situations in the homes. There's kids that don't have a father figure, and and things like that. So like sometimes they're needing that man love, right?
Yeah.
That little toughness in it, and I see it all the time, and like there's no like bad thing about it, but like they need it, they need to know that like, hey, it's all right to feel these feelings, but also like, I got to toughen up a little bit, right? When I get to be older and have a job or I'm in high school, I can't just cry every 5 minutes. Things don't go my way.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's needed for development with a kid, and so I know a couple of things that you do. I had David Joven on not that long ago, and you take some pretty awesome pictures around your gym, man. And how'd you get into photography? And you got some mad skills with catching some of those submissions at the perfect times, dude. How'd you get into that hobby? And what do you tell me a little bit more about like what you like to do with it, and if you have any future goals with it?
Honestly, like getting into pictures, I would always be like around like these things, and I always wished I had a camera, but I could never afford a camera. Like when I was a kid, like throughout middle school. But growing up, I had this dog, right? His name was Petey. Dude was great. Like they adopted him like around the time I was 1, and he was a pup. So like he grew up with me, and like he probably passed away when he was like 21 years old.
Oh wow.
He was a year older than me. Yeah, he was a really good dog. But like I noticed he was getting like really freaking old. Like by the time I was in high school. We just got another dog. She had like the same markings as him, black and white, just a different breed. And I would always take him like to the park down the street from our old house by the pool. Mm-hmm. And he would, dude was getting so old. Like he would, his hip on his like right side, on his back hind legs, he would always drag his hind legs when he got too tired, and it wouldn't take very long for him to get tired.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this guy's old. Whenever he was just having a good time, enjoying himself, like breathing in the grass, laying down, I would take pictures of him.
Yeah.
And like them together, take videos. And then I was like looking like, these are really crappy pictures. When this dog dies, I'm gonna want good pictures of him. So I like go on YouTube, look at how to focus the freaking change the exposure settings on the iPhone and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would just do that. And then yeah, I went to like a thrift store a couple years after that, like right before he passed away. I started taking pictures like 7 years before. I thought he was gonna die then. That dude kept
counting him
tripping.
out.
Yeah, I really was. He was old, man. I was
Yeah.
like, dude, half pitbull, half corgi.
21, man.
Body,
That's a
big ass head.
Yeah, that's a long time to have a dog, man.
Yeah, and he wasn't even blind.
Yeah.
Bro, when seeing now, like if he wasn't eating, like cool, vitamins definitely fix that.
Yeah.
Or you just mix a little bit of cat food in with dog food so it tastes different and he's
Yeah.
more motivated to eat it.
Right.
But yeah, no, he lasted a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would go like I went to a thrift store. I picked up like this old camera, and I would like play around with that. Film was super expensive, and I never really knew how to develop it, so I just take it to CVS to develop it, check it
Yeah.
out, and that's how I started liking it more. And then yeah, I went on Facebook Marketplace sometime beginning of this year. I picked up like a couple more cameras, and then Lalo came in, one of the guys we trained with, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I have this camera. I don't use it. You want to take pictures around the gym with it?" I was like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And like he pulls it out. It's this freaking what's it called? It's this Canon. No, not Canon. It's a Sony A7 III. I'm like, dude, this is like the one I was trying to save up for.
Yeah. That's a good camera.
I'm using the crap out of it. And I was just honestly for like the first 2 weeks, I wasn't even really coaching.
Yeah.
Unless
Just
it was
all
that
into
last
your
class.
camera.
Yeah, like I would demonstrate a move, like if it's the last class or like a Friday class, and I would like, all right, break, 1, 2, 3, da. And I just go run and stay at the camera and take pictures. And then like getting like that good moment too. It helped growing up grappling and then knowing like how certain people roll.
Right. They're
And,
setting something up or
Setting something up. Even at tournaments, someone like who's not like with us or like they're from out of town. If I see them at a tournament and I've watched them before, I'm like, okay, I know your setup. I know what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
And I'll just wait for it and I'll take like just click it once. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. Like we all have to have like hobbies but you're really good at it. And I've
Thanks.
seen a ton of the pictures and like obviously, you know, as you learn, you get better and better and better and better. And I think it's awesome. Like, but even from a marketing standpoint for the gym, like you want high quality, good photos that you can put out on your website, that you could put out on your social media and different things like that. So like it's important to have somebody in the gym doing those types of things, especially in this day and age, right? Years ago when I started, no one had cameras in the gym. Like it was frowned upon. But nowadays, like, you know, everyone's so engulfed in like they want to see things, right? So you got to be able to give them good quality and catch things at the right moments and stuff like that so they could actually get a good feel for it and make it more attractive to the person that, you know, may want to try it out.
Yeah. We had 2 guys actually. Like they come when they can. I'm sure they have busy lives. One of them's a dad. His name's Brian. His daughters like come and roll with us whenever like he has time to bring them and stuff. And then the other one, his name's Brian too. B Woods.
Okay.
Yeah, like they always have their cameras with them. And then like at least I want to say for at least a couple years now, like I've seen them like bring the cameras to like open mat. They'd roll. They get off the mat. They take pictures of people. And then as soon as I had like that camera I've been using. And, like, they would start coming back. I'm like, dude, like, no one gets pictures of them.
Yeah.
And if it is, it's, like, this crappy, like, freaking iPhone quality. You got to zoom in to see them because someone's just recording, like, their little rolls and stuff. I'm like, get some pictures of them. I got B Woods, and I was like, I showed him a couple pictures I took him. He was like, dude, I really like this. Like, I'll buy it from you. He was like, I can sell these.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's been, like, honestly, like, a really good source of income since getting laid off a couple weeks ago. I'm like, between this and EDD is nice.
Yeah, dude. And like, that's kind of where a business starts too. Like, you know, it starts out as a hobby. You know, even jiu-jitsu for me, I was training it at my house. I was training people in my garage. The podcast, same thing. It started in a garage. You know, and now I got a studio and, you know, I've helped people start podcasts and it starts out as a fun hobby, but then, you know, sometimes it turns into something bigger than that. And it's important to have those things too, like kind of like to keep the jiu-jitsu, you know, fresh. And, you know, if your life is engulfed in grappling, right? If you're training all day and you don't have an outlet or something fun that you can kind of nerd out on, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit more difficult, you know? And so it kind of breaks it up a little bit. And I like the pictures, man. I think that you could really do something. And nowadays they have studios that you can rent, you know, for a day
seen that.
and do high quality photo sessions. So like you could turn that into a business like that tomorrow. So it's a good quality thing to have, and it's something that you never know where it's going to lead you, right? It starts out fun and then turns into a moneymaker. So
I've been starting to network a bit with that a little more too, like the past couple months. Like there's like a dance comp in San Diego for like Polynesian dance.
Yeah.
They were dancing like this Tahitian competition. And I was just like sitting out there, take pictures from like, like my girlfriend, like her dances because I knew them, my sister, my cousin Natalie. And then other people were like, hey, you take pictures for me too? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And like just started networking with that. There's a guy, he teaches like jazz and like ballet and like classical dance and hip hop and stuff in like Los Angeles at this place called Snow Globe. And like I know him through like mutual like family friends. And I hit him, I was like, hey, like, do you ever want to do a photo shoot when I'm down like in LA? I was like, dude, yeah, totally. Like I have like a studio right here, like right next to like the dance floor. You can just take pictures here. I was like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's badass, dude. Like, especially like in LA too, like that kind of shit's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you brought up dance, right? And I know that's something that's a part of your family, and your mom has her dance studio, and we don't hear much about that, right? We're always talking jiu-jitsu on the podcast, but I know that you have been involved in that dance for a while, and I have a good friend of mine, the Curly family, and Meilani was doing Polynesian dancing when she was a younger kid, and I remember I probably like 17, 18 years old, and we used to go watch her perform, and I swear your dad was there drumming and doing things like that. So talk to me a little bit about the dance and how you got into that. Obviously it's in your family, but and what you do for that. Like, are you just a drummer, or do you do the dances too? Talk to me a little bit about it.
I drum and I dance. I mostly drum now, but I'm trying to get back into dancing after taking like a little break from the past couple of years. But it's really cool. Like getting into it, I think pretty sure my parents met that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure like my mom was a dancer, my dad drummed, and I'm pretty sure that's how they met.
Yeah.
And then just growing up, like my brother did it when he was little. I did it growing up. I was mostly into like hula.
Okay.
I really liked hula, like especially just like learning like different terminology and stuff, and like most of our family here in Stockton is Filipinos.
Yeah.
And like my dad's family, like a lot of his family's Hawaiian, but we don't really see them a whole lot. So that was pretty much like the closest I felt to getting to know them, or like that side of
The
like
culture, yeah.
Yeah. And then my sister's like super good at it. And honestly, like my favorite part about drumming is like just drumming for her.
Yeah.
It's like the best part. Like whether we do shows or comps, like my best part about seeing like all that is like my friends and like my sister on stage and like drumming with my buddies. Like some of my closest friends, like we grew closer because of it. And my best friend Justin, he said, we talked about him earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. He rolled with us for a couple years until like he couldn't drive anymore because Uber was getting super expensive. He lives out in Sac. But we met through like dancing.
Yeah.
There's like a group in Elk Grove, like our sister group. We like collaborate with a lot and like work with them and stuff. And we met through that. He introduced me to our other buddy Jaden. That was like three of us, and like whenever we can, we just hook up and like drum and try to like make beats like for the dancers, like my sister, dancers in their group and stuff. We just try to just have fun with it.
Yeah, you guys are really good. I've seen a few of your guys' like performances and stuff that your dad posts, and the one I'll never forget. And like when Rodney passed, and you guys, all the guys did the
the haka.
Yeah, the haka, man. That was like, I got chills right now.
Dude, I got
seeing that.
Chicken skin watching that. I was stuck in Texas because like COVID had like just like hit hard. I had just got out of basic training in Chicago. I was sent to Texas. Maybe like a week after I got to Texas, I got that call.
Yeah.
And like it was from, I think my mom called me. She's like, hey, like your uncle got, there's an accident. And I was like, there's no way she's talking about this one. There's like 4 uncles who are like by the same name. So I call like my cousin Lohi. I'm like, hey, should call her. She didn't pick up. I call her a second time because like, do not disturb. You got to call twice for that notification to go through. And she's sobbing. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then like, and like after that, like I wouldn't even be on my phone. And I was like, I got a call from my sister. She's like, hey, like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like scrolling, and then like all of a sudden I find myself on Facebook, and I never go on Facebook.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to use Facebook till this year. I was like, dude, what does this tab mean? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
But I kept getting notifications like, oh, people commented on something you're tagging, people commented on something you're tagging. And I clicked on it, and I was like, I just got chicken skin right away. Like, I knew that front yard. I knew everyone there. Freaking, I saw my brother, like, leading all the dudes. And I was like, I knew exactly what they're going to do. And I was like, dude,
it was powerful,
hard.
man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I still got the goosebumps, man. But I just like the look on everyone's face, and even the stuff that your mom put together with the girls, like, that was just such a beautiful way to honor the family, and a wonderful way to really put that out there, man. And you know, it moved me. Like, I remember that video probably had a ton of views, man. And
oh yeah, probably.
it was just a really special moment, and you know, being involved in that dance, and the especially the haka, man, that's like, you got to really have some emotion going with that. Like, you could see it on people's face. Like, what?
Yeah, that's like 80% of it.
Yeah. What is the meaning behind that? Like, where does that come from?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, remember how I talked about like training and stuff, and like they'll talk about like a certain move or whatever, and I'd hear it. I wasn't like listening. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing growing up with dance. Like, we would like drum a beat. I'd learn a beat, you know, and each of the beats usually have a meaning and stuff, and like their origin. Yeah, I wouldn't really listen to that either. I was like, if I know how to do it, I'm good. But I know like the haka in particular, at least, is like a very like serious like thing. Yeah. Like, you don't just do it like just because. Yeah. You know, like that's
it's sacred.
Yeah, that's sacred. That's not for entertainment purposes. Yeah. At least like not that one. Yeah. It's like some, I know there's like different kinds. There's some like preparations for war kind of shit. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard.
I've seen, you know, obviously I try to research that stuff afterwards, after I saw that, because I was like, that is just, it's something I've never seen before.
Yeah, I really need to study this stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, like more so.
But I looked into it, and I've seen like other groups doing it, and it was always intense. Like, that's what you could tell about that. And is wild, man. Like, but your brother was, I mean, he led that thing very well, man. And it was very cool to see, dude.
It was really cool to see. Yeah, like, because I remember when we learned it, he was already home from the army. Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, hey, like, you want to come do this with us? He was like, hell no, man. I'm not dancing anymore. I'm like, I haven't danced since grade school. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. It was really cool seeing him be part of that too. Yeah. It was like understandable, like, that was nice.
Yeah, it was special. And you mentioned your sister. Now, I know your sister was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu a while back, and it seems like she's kind of transitioned a little bit more into the dance recently. Is that correct?
I feel like with my sister, because like I feel like, because I know darn well she's not done with jiu-jitsu. She's just it's a little more on the side, because those girls that she's been teaching, you know, they're coming up. She's got to devote a little more time into them, a little more energy, a little more of herself. So that's taking a lot. She's doing a lot of privates with those girls. Like, those girls are working really, really hard. Yeah. Dancing and stuff. And yeah, she's like focusing a lot more on dance now, and I could totally see why. Yeah. You know?
Your family's good at it. Your mom, you know, is really known for her great style of teaching and developing these dancers. You know, it's not an easy thing to do. I'm like, how do they move like that sometimes? Like, it just doesn't seem real.
Honestly, it's really interesting, because like a lot of the people I've met in like the grappling or jiu-jitsu like community, I've met because they know my dad. Yeah. You know, like the people like walk up and talk to him, like, hey man, like, it's good to see you, coach, like this and that. It's the same thing with my mom in the dance community. Like, darn near 80% of the people I know. Yeah. Like, if people I've met, people I've been introduced to, like, I've met them because they know her. Yeah. It's like, hey, you're Rosalie's son, right? I was like, how do you know my mom's name? Right? I'm just like so confused just growing up. But it's nice.
Yeah. But you have like really good things that you can do, right? Like having jiu-jitsu and having martial arts on your dad's side, you know, because you not only have the jiu-jitsu, but the Filipino martial arts, right?
Oh yeah, Eskrima?
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up doing that too. My dad was I've heard like a lot of stories about him growing up, especially with the Eskrima too. I'm pretty sure he started teaching like the Cryus Eskrima when he was like 13, 14. Yeah. It was him just breaking a bunch of like 30-year-old, 20-year-old guys' knuckles, bro. Like,
I believe it, man.
It was hard.
It's funny that we were talking to your dad and we found out. So my great grandfather on my mom's side is Gilbert Tino. And so we're all related through marriage, you know, but like still there's some sort of connection there, man. And I know Gilbert was a really strong Eskrima guy, and my mom spent a lot of time with Gilbert when she was younger. And I think by the time I was born, he passed away shortly after. I was real young when he passed away. And I actually remember going to his funeral, and I remember my mom telling me he's this martial arts grandmaster, and I'm like, I don't know what that means, but you know, cool. Like back then I was too young to really respect it, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, like he was a legend, you know. And hearing those things and knowing that your dad, you know, spent a lot of time with him and different things like that. It's wild. Believe it or not, my mom used to babysit your dad and your uncle back in the day. Yeah. So it's just weird how this whole little world kind of ties everything together. And, you know, I would have never put all that together, but, you know, it's amazing these connections you make in Stockton and in life, you know. It's pretty wild. Outside of dance, outside of martial arts, what are and obviously photography, do you have any other hobbies that you're really into? Or
around like beginning of last year, I started trying to teach myself like guitar.
Okay.
It's been pretty stagnant lately.
Yeah.
But it's been going well. Other than that, honestly, just as much as I can when I go down to SoCal to like visit like my girl and like her family, her friends and stuff. Like her dance family, I mean. They're like there's this really good like dance group. They used to go by Kalani's. They're called Fale Polynesia now, but they're great. They're amazing. I love those people.
Yeah.
Like I go down there and like honestly, sometimes I look forward to seeing them a little more than I look forward to seeing her. Of course I look forward to seeing her, but I know when I go down there, she's gonna be like getting ready for a show. She's gonna be teaching. Like, okay, I'm gonna stay out of your hair. Yeah. I'm gonna say hi to these people. You know, like they're great. You guys are great. I love you. But like just one thing I like really do, like I really look forward to, like outside of like dance and drumming and photography and like jits. Anytime I go down there, I need to go to the beach. Yeah. I absolutely need to. Yeah. Like we don't live near a beach here. Nah. And the beaches here, like up here, like in the Bay Area, they're nice.
They're all right.
But they're kind of ugly. Yeah. You know, and it's not even just like the beach itself. Like, I don't care about the trash. There's no trash in the water. You know, there's going to be trash everywhere. Yeah. Especially up here. But like you go down there and it's like the people are great. You find the hidden beaches is awesome. There's no hidden beaches here where there are not tourists. Yeah.
It is crowded here. It's a lot different when you go down there. There's so many beaches, right?
So many.
Like, I was dating a girl down there like years ago, and she would drive me down the coast, and you got Seal Beach, Huntington Beach. Ooh. You got all these crazy nice beaches, dude, and they're all just beautiful. Do you do any surfing or anything of that nature?
I honestly never learned how to surf. I'll just go out there and swim. Remember either my first or second time going to like Hawaii with my family. Yeah. We went out to this beach called Sandy's on Oahu with my Uncle Solomon, and I had a skimboard. I just picked up a skimboard, and he's trying to teach me how to like ride the wave on. I was laying down. I was trying to like body surf on that thing, and like this wave just came down on me. It wasn't a big one, but that thing was heavy. Yeah. It was pretty strong. And like the board went stuck right into the sand, and I kept going, and I like hit my rib like into the back of the board. And it was like all wood. And I would like tumble and I scorpion and I'm like, dude, I'm never riding this thing again. I'm just gonna go out there and swim. So now every time I go to the beach, I try to pull back and like hold myself responsible, I guess you would say. Yeah. I would try to like not swim as far as I can because I just worry people if I see a buoy, I'm like,
I want to get there.
I'm gonna go all the way to the buoy, you know? I want to look back and see people who like look like they're the size of ants. Right. And have a hell of a time coming back. I just try to like swim. I just want to swim.
Hawaii is a little bit different though than California beaches and stuff. Like those waves are pretty fucking crazy out there.
Yeah, those are strong.
We went to Maui. It was my first time ever going, and in Maui, like there was like a storm or something one day we were there, and these waves were huge. And I see all these like natives and local people, and they're all running to the water with surfboards. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, it's saying don't go in the water. You know, all these surfers are running towards it. I was like, good Lord, man.
If I ever got into surfing, I might like try that one day.
Yeah.
But like for now, like I love going to the beach when it's raining and when it's storming. Because one, like if you bring a fishing pole, you're going to catch a lot more fish.
Yeah.
And two, I usually don't bring a fishing pole. So like the only really plus for me is there's no tourists.
Yeah.
It's all people who are going to be in the water. They're not like taking up space on the sand.
Right.
Not to worry about anything. I just go out there and I'll swim. And if it's storming, I'll enjoy watching the surfers from afar in like my nice little safe area.
Yeah.
Like where if I go down, it might be like 15, 20 feet till I reach like the bottom. But I'm not going to get mauled by a big freaking pillow of water.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drown. I'm like, I don't have a board to hold me up. I'm like, screw that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's much different, man. So tonight is a special night. Richard's Rich Lot, right? He's making his MMA fight tonight. Is that correct, right?
His MMA debut is, what's today?
The 12th.
Today's Friday, right?
Oh, tomorrow.
Yeah,
It's
tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah, his debut's tomorrow. I think his weigh-ins might be tonight.
Yeah.
Unless they're tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really exciting step for him.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for him.
Do you guys have a lot of guys in your gym doing the MMA stuff, or is he one of the few?
As far as I know, I want to say he's one of maybe 2 or 3. I know for sure one of our guys, Brandon, we call him Masa. He's I'm pretty sure he does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any intentions of ever getting into the MMA scene or working the striking or
Me?
anything like that?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that I don't like it. I love training. You know, like we growing up doing like American kickboxing, learning how to hold mitts and stuff. Like I love it.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm not too hot on is getting concussions. And
Yeah.
I've had too many to count so far. And I've had like 1 or 2 like pretty bad ones.
Yeah.
And I'm not really afraid of getting hit, like how much it might hurt. No one can hit harder than my dad.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. But just the fact that I know in myself, I can't keep my hands up for the life of me.
Yeah.
Like maybe if I wanted to do it, I would have to like actually like retrain my shoulders to like get super
Tape
healthy.
your
So
hand
I have
to
to
your
hold my
head.
hands up. Yeah, like if I were gonna do it, like my arms are gonna fall because
Yeah.
my shoulders are horrible right now.
Right.
But maybe one day. But it was more of it was definitely more likely when I was like 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With obviously, the concussion thing, right? You mentioned that, like, we only have one brain, right?
Yeah.
And especially all the research and stuff that's coming out about concussions and what they can do to you and then the signs of CTE, like you look at those fighters, which ones are struggling with it, right? Yeah. Like, I just recently, one of my favorite fighters of all time, BJ Penn, right? I just recently saw, like, he posted something crazy about Jake Paul on Insta, and everyone in the comment section was like, oh yeah, this is totally CTE. Like, this makes no sense. And then I really started to think about it. I was like, man, that's like, it's very possible he's been in some wars. He's taken hits over the past 25 years, and maybe even longer since he's been training. And I remember everyone's like, oh, he has a great chin, it'll be fine, right? But that chin doesn't help your brain. You may have the lights on, but no one's home, right? And it can be dangerous. And you see fewer and fewer guys nowadays getting into the MMA scene because of those kind of issues. And I got a bad concussion one time, and man, you only need 1 or 2 of those before you're like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's not fun.
I think my worst one, I lost like a whole summer.
Yeah.
Like of memory. Like I don't remember a good like month and a half.
How did you get the concussion?
I was actually training for football preseason at high school.
Yeah.
Like freshman year. It was like the summer before freshman year. We were running through plays. We're going to have our first like 6-on-6 without pads, like a 2-hand touch, kind of like friendly scrimmage with another high school in town. And we were running through it, and it was like the end of practice. This was the last one. What happened?
You probably don't remember, right?
I remember like exactly like what happened in the moment. I'm trying to remember what happened before that. Oh yeah, we're running through a play. I was on like the defense side. Like they blow the whistle, whatever happened. I just stop. I start walking back, and like the dude who like caught the ball, or he's like, playing the part of the corner or receiver, whatever it is. I don't follow sports. He was like running. He wasn't paying attention either. Like I was walking forward. He was looking forward and running towards me, and we like went in line. He smashed like his like whole face into my temple.
Ooh.
Like his nose, his orbital lobe was like broken. Dude was bleeding profusely. Like I'm pretty sure like 2 of his teeth were loose. One might have even fallen out. And like I kind of like stumbled back a bit, and I was like, "What just happened?" I look, it's like bro's bleeding. Like bro's bleeding.
Yeah.
And like the coaches and everyone like run over, make sure he's cool. It's like, hey, and like help him over to the side. Like he might have a concussion. And there I am, like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go back in line. Like, you guys don't worry about it. I'm fine then.
Yeah.
Like I didn't take a second thought. I see blood. I'm like, yo, he's fucked up.
Yeah.
But then like I don't remember what happened after that. I remember someone told me we started running laps around like the whole field, and someone said they saw me like collapse, throw up in like the tall grass, because the grass was not cut yet. Like whoever was supposed to manage that high school lawn was not managing it at all. And I got back up, I guess after throwing up, like passing out for a couple of seconds, and I started running again. And then the next thing I remember is like I'm already halfway home and I'm on my bike. I'm like, I rode my bike to practice today. And then I get to the house, the guys are already training in the backyard, everyone's on the mats, and I like take off my shoes and I get back on a mat, and like I'm rolling with my brother's best friend, Nico, like a lifelong best friend. He's on the mats, he's practicing. And like we shake hands, and I go to shake hands, and bro's like all the way on my right. It was like, dude, are you okay? I was like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm looking, I was like, when did you get over here? And we go shake hands, and we're rolling, and I'm like spacing out like horribly. And it was like, bro, are you okay? What happened? You hit your head or something? I was like, a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. And he was like, you might have a concussion. And I was like, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, don't tell anyone. He was like, are you sure? Like, you can tell your dad. I was like, no, I'm going to get in trouble. Like, I'm going to get in trouble if I have a concussion. I don't know what I was even thinking.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, just try not to go to sleep. I was like, yeah, definitely. Next thing you know, like, practice over, we eat dinner, I shower, I just knocked out.
Yeah.
That 6-on-6 was supposed to be at like 11 a.m. the next day. I woke up at 10, like my head was pounding.
You're not supposed to sleep with those.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That was like my first like bad one. Next thing you know, like I'm in the car, my cousins are with me, like in the back seat, and I feel miserable. We end up at the high school. My mom was like yelling, "Get out of the van!" I was like, "Why are we here? Like you already told me I'm not participating. Why are we here?" And then next thing you know, like it was super embarrassing. Like nothing against her, but that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
She like dragged me onto the field where like everyone's waiting. She's yelling at the coach, telling him off, and like my dad's sitting there like, "Fuck." And I was there like, what the fuck? Like I start school in like 2 months.
Yeah.
I gotta see these guys. This is not okay.
Yeah.
It's, like I like there's like another gap, and then we're like at Loda Memorial or Dameron. It could be anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm getting like an MRI, CT. Yeah, like the next 2 months was like a total blur.
Man.
I remember a couple times we were like, dude, like I was really worried about you. One time my uncle like drove to the house, and I guess he he got to the house. He was like, hey, like where's Cy at? And my dad's like, I don't know why. What happened to him? I was like, I saw him on the way here, like 3 blocks away, dragging the trash cans behind him. I was like, yeah, I told him to pull the trash. Where did you say he was? And like, I don't remember any of it.
Wow.
I was just like, I remember dragging myself to the bathroom.
That's wild.
2 or 3 times because I wanted to throw up. That's all I remember from that whole experience. It was
How long did that last, would you say? Like, I mean, a couple months?
like too long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. Like, you hear people and they'll have long-term concussion syndrome. Like,
Yeah.
They get one bad concussion and they'll have that thing for years, So you never know. Like, your brain is such a vital organ, and, it does everything for the central nervous system. And, it's like we only got one of those, right? We don't have enough research to be swapping out brains.
Can't transplant that.
Yeah, no. And even if you could, like, the chances of it like holding up and, they're probably very, very unlikely. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of scary, man. Like, if you really think about it, back in the day, like your dad probably knows, at the slaughterhouse or the ice house, like there was no headgear worn, or very little headgear.
I remember
worn.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually remember a sign up that says like no headgear allowed. Nowadays you could never get by with something like that. But like we didn't think about that kind of stuff. Like there wasn't all this CT. There weren't all these football players going off the deep end, right? It was just kind of like, all right, yeah, we know you get fucked up from it, but we don't know enough about it. And it's just like you see these fighters and even like, guys that maybe haven't been knocked out, but they've taken some good hits throughout their career, and you look at the Diaz brothers and they've taken some shots, bro. And
intentionally.
Right. And I mean, you look at Nick Diaz's wars, and I know he's a younger guy, but like you gotta look at him and be like, hey, something might be going on there. Like you've taken a lot of shots in a lot of fights.
You don't have to look at like all his videos or his record. Like he's a dog. Like look at the record if you want to see how many wins he's had and how impressive it is.
Right.
You want to see how many wars he's had. Look at his nose. He got cauliflower ear on his
Cauliflower nose.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, like how many times did you get punched?
Yeah.
Like I could fold my nose.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this like my little party trick since like middle school. I've never gone to something like that. Like my nose is definitely tired of me by now.
Yeah. His nose is thicker than a Snickers, man.
Dude,
like,
yeah, that thing's thick. It's like a toe.
Yeah.
You got a toe knuckle on his nose.
But like, guys like that, guys like BJ Penn, Chuck Liddell, Chuck Liddell's a big one.
That was my favorite fighter.
One of mine too.
Like remember the first time my dad pulled, that's something like core memory kind of thing. When he pulled me into like his and my mom's room to watch the fights, Chuck Liddell was on. I all remember like I was like really deep into X-Men and stuff at the time, and like at the time, man, I still am. But yeah, I was like, Chuck the Iceman Liddell. I'm like, yo, what? And I see this guy walk out, and he looks like the Iceman from the comic. He looks like Bobby Flay.
Yeah.
But like a dog. Like he looks tough. And
That
he's got
mohawk,
the mohawk.
just had it,
Just knocking
the
dudes
tats
out.
on the side of his head.
Dude, yeah. It was like 2007, I remember. And I remember as soon as he retired, I stopped watching UFC with my parents.
Oh, dude.
Like if they were playing it, I'd be in the room. I wouldn't be paying attention. I was like, dude, Chuck Liddell's not fighting.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. I want to go back and read a book. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be in this room right now.
I back in the day, right? UFC wasn't on TV, right? It was like only pay-per-view, and you had to know about it. You had to really be a fan of it to follow it. And I was in high school. This is early 2000s, and at that time, on I think it was like Fox Sports or some local like sports channel, they started throwing fights on every once in a while. And a couple of the fights that they showed on a regular basis was Chuck Liddell and Vernon Tiger White, and Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler. And I remember just watching those fights, and they'd replay them over and over. Like every week, you'd see him on, And I was like, man, that Chuck Liddell dude is just dropping fools, right? Yeah. And then you see Nick, right? And they're like from Stockton, California, and I'm like, what? This guy's from Stockton? Like hell yeah! So, I mean, I got like instantly hooked shortly after Ultimate Fighter 1 hits and Chuck Liddell's the damn coach, And I was just like, dude, that guy's so badass.
I remember that.
And my first like UFC fight in years, like not renting him from Blockbuster or anything like that, was Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture #2. And Chuck knocked Randy out in that fight, dude. And it was just such a beautiful... He just dropped his ass. And I was a Chuck Liddell guy from then on, man. Like, if you weren't a fan of him during that run, dude, you didn't like fighting. Like,
I remember being like... The first time we started getting like Chromebooks in elementary school to like do our like map testing or whatever on.
Yeah.
Or even like the computer lab when it finally opened to us when we were old enough, like... 5th grade, we're like, dude, I thought this was only for the middle schoolers. This is awesome. We sneak in there during lunch or like during the after school program because they'd always leave it unlocked.
Yeah.
We go in there, it'd be like 5 of us, right? It'd be the guy who wants to like show us like cool cartoons, right? We'd sit there binging like Ben 10 and stuff, episodes on YouTube, Beyblade. There'd be a guy who like had the old anime. Before I knew what anime was, I didn't know Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z was considered anime. It was always English when I watched it. It was that guy, those two. The guy who always gave us like the jump scare videos. I was like, you dick. What's wrong with you? Yeah, I was like, we're going to get caught because we're getting scared right now. It was a guy who had like we always have that one friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
I know what you're
all
talking
the war videos. Like, bro, like, they're popping heads. I was like, dude, we're not supposed to be watching.
You don't want to see that stuff.
I was like sitting there and I'm like, did that they blew up the building. I was
Yeah.
like, it's made of clay. It was like, but it blew up.
Yeah.
Like bad. No one survived that. It was like, yeah, you want to see someone get shot? I was like, I don't.
No.
Like, no,
There's
I
too
don't.
much of that nowadays.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I think I know what will interest you and everyone else here. All right, real life anime. No one's dying, but there's enough blood to satisfy you.
Yeah,
and
straight
it'd always
up.
be Chuck Liddell on YouTube. I was like, dude, this is the guy.
Man, knockout artist, dude. Like his knockouts were just legendary.
They were
dude. Like,
beautiful.
he'd be in like wars too, and he would take some shots in there. Like he took one to give one, you know, and man, like it killed me when he lost to Rashad. I actually ran into Chuck at a fight. My buddy Bobby was fighting in Fresno, and Chuck was there cornering a fighter. And I remember talking to him in the locker room, and I was like, dude, I'm such a huge fan of you, and like, dude, you're the man. Like, he was the light heavyweight champ at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, dude, I know you're gonna take out Rashad, and then like Rashad just knocked him the fuck out. Like, oh god, it killed me, man. Like, and then seeing him come back and like go on those runs against what didn't Lyoto Machida knock him out too,
Yeah.
or something? Like, those were just devastating, and I hated seeing that. You know, especially towards the end of his career. But you got to look at those things and say, man, there's definitely got to be some sort of CTE there. You can't take those heavy shots for that long of a time. And,
What's CTE?
and not
Is that
expect
like
it.
the brain spotting?
Yeah.
But that's the thing that they only find like after someone's
you
passed
pass,
away, right?
yeah.
That
So
sucks.
it's like essentially it's like bruising on your brain, right?
Yeah.
That just doesn't go away or doesn't heal, like scar tissue. And man, it's just real intense. And I even seen something not that long ago where he was going to Colombia to get like stem cells for it. So like
For CTE?
yeah, like just
That's
from all the
awesome.
shots, and then not only that, but like, you know,
Yeah,
he's
his body.
obviously had other injuries and stuff. So, you know,
Dang, Chuck Liddell and stem cells?
yeah.
Shit, stem cells and like a little bit of anabolic. Get him back in the
Right.
ring.
Get him back in there, man.
Yo, that's a moneymaker right there.
Yeah, dude.
Where's Dana White at? We got an idea.
We always wanted, me and a buddy of mine, we used to talk about a Legends league in the UFC. Like,
Ooh.
literally, old guys fighting the old guys. They don't need to fight these young
Yeah,
cats.
don't fight the young guys.
Yeah, fuck all that. You know, like, we're talking like a Chuck Liddell and a Mike Tyson now. You
That'd
know,
be
like,
sick.
Everyone wanted it when Chuck was on his run, but, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Mike was really kind of out of the game at that point. But now that he's coming back, like, come on, make a Legends League.
Yeah, like this is actually cool. You guys want to keep watching the freaking YouTubers fight?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like the Paul brothers. I'm talking about like the actual like scrawny little YouTubers
Yeah.
in these boxing rings wasting everyone's time. Like no one's they're making money on that, but no one's having a good time watching it.
I agree.
Like watch the real fighters,
Yeah.
you know, who already have a name for themselves. Get a little nostalgic fight going on,
Yeah.
right? It'll make everybody happy.
There's got to be enough of them out there that are still, you know, healthy enough, still
Yeah.
in good shape, and
Just
stuff
make sure
like
you have
that.
a medic on standby.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Right.
Just in case. Someone has a stroke, like, hey, get him off
Yeah,
the
get him
ring
out of here.
now.
Get clear. Yeah, you know. But no, I was a huge fan of Chuck, and you know, growing up watching those UFCs, that's what got me training. Ultimate Fighter 1. After I saw that Chuck Liddell Randy Couture fight, I went and started training at Eric Shingu's gym. Got real heavy into jiu-jitsu. I wanted to do the MMA thing. Obviously, you know, I had shoulder problems, so it never really worked out. But man, like I was in love with that fighting, man. They didn't have as many fights back then. It was like every 3 or 4 months. So
Yeah.
you know, they kind of left you wanting more after each one.
Yeah.
Nowadays they're like every weekend, so you're like, oh yeah, just another one. If I miss it, no big deal. I'll
Now it's
catch
like
it
a
later.
Netflix show. It's like, hey, man, tune back next Friday. Yeah. It's like, there's a cliffhanger.
Right.
Come back to see the result. I'm like,
Yeah,
bro.
man, it's crazy though. But talk about let's get into a little bit more about jiu-jitsu. Did you catch the Nicky Rod and Michael Pixley match?
I did not. If I'm being totally honest.
Okay. I was
like,
gonna-
nothing against them. I know who they are.
Yeah.
Like not even just from like people talking about them, and I hear it, I catch it. Like I follow them on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
But if I'm being totally honest, when I say growing up I did not watch sports, I mean like, you know, sports that we played also. Like when I was doing,
You'd rather play them and be a part of them than actually watch them, right?
yeah, like I would love to watch it if if I, didn't have like horrible ADHD. I need to get tested for that, honestly. I'm pretty sure I have it. Like, it's horrible. Like, my dad and my brother would always be like studying,
Yeah.
They got the DVDs,
Yeah.
man. They got like, the big old, like, thick, like 2-inch thick freaking books, like all like the different moves and stuff before Spider Guide was a popular thing, before anyone really knew it. Like, they were like reading that out of the book and like drilling it in the living room.
Oh yeah.
And they'd be like watching the DVD or like the YouTube videos. I always fall asleep if it's a video.
Yeah.
If you want me to pay attention to something, let's go to a seminar.
Yeah.
Let's go to a tournament. I want to see this happen. But if it's a video, I'm like, I'm going to change the channel.
I tell you what, you don't have to have a doctor tell you got it. You know if you got it or not. I'm the same way, man. I don't go to movie theaters. And the reason being, I fall asleep every time.
Every time?
Every
Like, no
single
matter the
time.
genre?
Doesn't matter the movie. I could be into the movie.
You got to go to a theater that doesn't have good seats.
Yeah, the shitty one.
Yeah, the shitty seats. That way you know if it's a good movie, you're locked in. You're not even worried about the seat. But if you don't like the movie, it's like you're thinking about the seat and you're like, cool, let's not go to this movie again.
My ADD just starts kicking in, and then I can't pull out my phone to like satisfy it, So I'll just be like, what the fuck is going on? And next thing you know, my wife's waking me up and everyone's walking out, and I'm like, oh shit, I've been asleep this whole time. So I struggle with that. It's a constant battle. Like, even watching, like, even studying my jiu-jitsu, like, I'll be breaking down videos and moves and stuff like that, and then I'm like, oh wait, what's that?
What's
I'll
that?
just
Yeah.
move on to something completely opposite.
Say, shit, I forgot to wash the dishes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, all the time. Oh, I gotta take out the trash. Yep.
I was like, what video was I watching again?
Oh, Kimura? I don't even remember.
I was like, oh, this is a good song playing. Hold on, I'm gonna press pause. Put on a replay for like 10 times.
Dude, I caught myself even last night. Like, I was listening to a podcast and I was trying to doze off the bed, and they mentioned something in the podcast, and I like totally started Googling it and like reading about it. I'm like, what in the fuck am I doing? Like, I need to be going to sleep. I'm over here doing research like I'm in high school.
That was honestly me last night. Like, I follow you guys' podcast. I follow this another podcast called Keep It Aloha. And then there's another podcast from, there's a rave I went to a couple years ago. I met this girl who was one of the hosts. And then like a couple months later, she introduced me like 2 of her friends from SoCal too. It's like the 949 podcast or something. Like, the only 3 podcasts I follow.
That's
like,
awesome.
Joe Rogan podcast, I won't follow it because I know I'm not going to watch every single episode.
Yeah.
I'll just scroll through until I see someone I like.
Yeah.
And then, like last night, there's like this Kumu Hula Mark, who like his podcast is finally released. And I was like watching, it's like, how do you talk on a podcast? I was like looking, I didn't know you didn't have cameras yet. I was like, what's proper etiquette in front of a freaking camera? What do I do? And I started like watching podcasts. And I was like, what was I supposed to be like thinking about again? I was like, I had a notebook with me and everything. I was like, I'm just going to go back to playing Fortnite. Screw this.
Man. That's funny though. It's funny. Like, I've had tons of people. I've done a lot of different podcasts, and I've helped people start them. And I've heard stories of people passing out on a podcast. Like, they get super nervous, and all of a sudden they have like an anxiety attack and pass out.
Oh, I thought you meant like they're just smoking too much together.
That
Like,
too.
dude,
I've seen that too. I've seen people get drunk on podcasts. Like,
that sounds like a fun podcast.
yeah, until they pass out.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of different things that happen, man. And like, I try to just keep it as cool and chill as possible, But yeah, it's awesome, man. And dude, like, that ADD shit is real, man.
Yeah, it's real.
I've been in here talking to people, and like, all of a sudden I'll get this thought in my head, and I don't care what we're talking about. I can't pay attention. I'm just fucking going off on this thought.
Yep.
And it happens, man. But sometimes I feel like with having something like that, or kind of not being able to pay attention much, sometimes like that outlet of jiu-jitsu is perfect for that, right? Because it's physical, So like, and obviously you don't want to get smashed in a fucking grappling round or anything. So
Yeah.
like, you really dial in that concentration and that focus when moves are being shown and shit.
It's like a Rubik's Cube that'll twist you back.
Yeah,
It's like a
straight
bop
up.
it that's going to bop you in the face too.
That's a good way of putting it, man. Do you follow, like, I know you said you don't follow much sports, but did you follow like CJI and the ADCC stuff?
I saw clips.
Okay. So where I want to lead to with that is, what's your take? I know a lot of people are adding that ramp to competitions, right? The wall or whatever they call it. Do you think that's pretty cool, or something that's just a fad that's going to kind of go away?
I think it's better than the cage thing.
Like grappling in a cage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than a cage.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just not even like the fact of like, oh, like someone's fingers or toes gonna get caught. Like, no, like a cage is uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like, it's just uncomfortable to be like wary of. Like, next thing you know, you're like pinned up against the wall. You're about to like sprawl and like headlock this dude. You're gonna spin and like twist his chin and like run a rondo. And he's not going anywhere because he's holding the fence.
Right.
I think the ramp is nice. It's a nice idea.
I think it's pretty cool. I saw recently there was a grappling organization out in Washington, and they did a big show. Helena from John Danaher's squad, she's like that chick that wears the matching gear all the time. She competed in it, and they had the ramp, you know. And I feel like that's something that nowadays we're gonna see a lot more. In the modern jiu-jitsu stuff, like those kind of walls or new innovations in general, right? Like, you know, to keep it fresh and to keep it new, really.
Oh, CGI did it first.
Yeah. And, well, actually, Karate Combat. Let's look at Karate Combat, because Karate Combat's had that thing, and then they started doing a couple grappling matches. Craig Jones did one. I forget who it was against, but he tapped the guy with a triangle against the wall.
Maybe that's where he got it from.
Yeah, I think it is. So I'm just excited to see kind of the new innovations. Like, where are they going to take it next, right?
Yeah, you
like,
guys going to put spikes on it?
Yeah. Well, you hear about the first UFC, right? When they were planning like the octagon, originally they wanted to put a moat around it with water and alligators.
What?
And then they said, no, that's too dangerous. But how about fire? Like a ring of fire. And then that was too dangerous. And then they finally settled
like
on
fire
the
is worse
octagon.
than crocodiles in a moat.
Oh, dude, either one, man.
I mean,
like,
if you have the octagon with, like, you know, the fence, like the gate still, you put a moat around it. Screw it, you know? Just put like another gate like between the crocs and the audience, and you're good.
Give it a little space, right? A little height, so those crocs can't
dude,
jump
if one of
up
those
at
things
you.
like fall over, you're good.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I'd much prefer the moat.
Well, I'm a huge wrestling fan, right? I grew up in the 80s and 90s watching WWF and WWE. And there was a match where The Undertaker fought Kane, and they were like brothers or whatever, but the whole ring was fire. And then, you know, years later, you hear about like the behind the scenes on that. And dude, those guys were dousing themselves in water the whole match because it was so hot. Then you imagine being in an arena where all the lights are hitting on you. You know, you got all these literally live flames that they could turn up or down at any point. And they're just blasting flames at you the whole time. Like, it's dangerous, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, it's very entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to see something like that.
I just hope they have good insurance.
Yeah, you got to, man, at that point. But yeah, I'm excited to see where they take these things next. You know, I think the CJI was a big like, you know, proving point. Like, you know, you can go up against these big organizations like ADCC, which are very traditional and in their rule sets, and you can add a little bit of newness to it. And, you know, that keeps it fresh for everybody, right? The competitors, right? Everyone was like, I think the biggest thing about CJI was like the unknown, right? We've never seen it before.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we got new promoters promoting different style of matches. We got a tournament bracket. We got a wall that people are doing fucking badass shit off of. You know, the Tackett brothers, right?
Dude, Tackett brothers are dope.
They're fucking sick.
Like, as much as I don't watch,
Yeah.
I feel like it's definitely easier for me to like pay attention to the video if I know who's in the video, like personally. And I don't think I've met Andrew personally, but William Tackett, I know he's a great guy. I love watching him and his brother roll.
Yeah.
Like compete. That's like his Andrew's finals match. That's probably the only one I watched from beginning to end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
he was
awesome.
so solid, man. Like that whole tournament, like I kind of counted him out on the podcast. I was like, I don't know if he can really handle it, but dude, he looked great in it, man.
Yeah.
And those brothers were one of the first ones to put up one of those walls in the gym. So it was just kind of interesting. They were working off of that like before anybody else. So, you know, I think you never know, and you might see more gyms pop up with those types of mat areas. You know, the more that gets common. You know,
Honestly, if and when like I open one, I would totally not be against that.
Yeah,
I
it'd
would
be
probably-
sick, right? It'd
Yeah,
be
it'd be
interesting.
sick. Yeah.
You know, and you never know, like, if you have one built in the gym, you can definitely host some pretty badass in-house tournaments too, you know, that are different than everyone else.
Just cover it in oil.
Yeah, baby oil. P.
Just
Diddy
get the-
over here.
Get the matted walls, the ramps, and like the whole mat. Just like put a little baby oil on all of it.
Disclaimer, Cyrus has never met P. Diddy or been to a P. Diddy party with baby oil.
Honestly, before finding everything out, I really wanted to. I really wanted to. It looked
Dude,
fun.
175 bottles or some shit like that, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's wild.
And it's like, what, $9 per bottle? I mean, he's a millionaire, but still, that's a
Yeah.
little too much.
That's a lot of baby oil.
That's a little too much.
Unless you got a jiu-jitsu gym.
And you want to have a little in-house tournament with slippery slopes. Oh, we call it that, the Slippery Slopes
man.
Invitational. SSI.
Oh, man. That'd be good, man. You get a lot of interesting things out of that.
Someone tries stepping on it, they just slip. Take down, slip, pull guard, just sliding down the mat.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Horrible.
That would be fun, though. But so do you have a preference on gi versus no gi, or are you a fan of both?
I personally don't.
Yeah.
Honestly, like growing up, more dominantly like in no-gi. Mm-hmm. At least like the first bit of like gi that I started out with, I definitely preferred no-gi more when it came to like people like that I would actually compete against.
Yeah.
But training wise with like my training partners, because my training partners were all like basically, they were like my uncles growing up. Mm-hmm. You know, the youngest one was my brother.
Yeah.
And he was super older than me.
Yeah.
So everyone who I rolled with growing up, they were like already in the 30s, like when I was 10.
Yeah.
So gi was great, you know, to feel like I had a little sense of control.
Right.
But as far as like competing and stuff, like I really liked no gi more until we joined Aries, and I like got more into gi under the guidance of like not only my dad but Samir and Kishino as well.
Yeah.
And then I think that's when I really started liking gi more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, I obviously you have to do both, right? That's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
You know, and especially if you're running a school, you gotta cater to the guys that like the no-gi game. But I think it's important, you know, to train in the gi and to really keep those fundamentals there and understand, like, hey, if you're on the streets, they could grab you and control you, you know, like God forbid anything ever happens on the streets, but you know, it's real life things, right? You're never, you know, shirtless unless you're on the water or something, right? Which I've seen it quite a bit. Board shorts, no shirt, flip flops, you know. But you know, it's a real thing to think about and to consider, you know, in your training. But yeah, how do you stay in shape and do you keep up a solid gym regimen or anything like that? You're obviously ripped, dude. You got huge ass muscles.
Thanks. I honestly started working out again recently, after not doing like any kind of like serious working out or like heavy lifting since like March. Since March I've only really done like band work and like calisthenics, you know, like a couple hundred reps here, like push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, but nothing like super serious. In March I was going for a new bench press max and the gym was empty.
Yeah.
Right? The gym was empty and my dumbass put collars on the weights and like my max up until that day was 385 pounds.
Oh wow.
For one. I was going and I hit 2. I hit doubles again. I was like, all right, bet. I'm going to work my way up to 4 plates. And instead of, you know, working my way up to 405, I just went 4 plates.
Yeah.
And I went up like halfway. It came down to my chest again. I was like, okay, bet. I'm gonna arch a bit. I'm gonna push through my legs. I pushed and I felt like my back tightened up and my shoulder popped. And I was like, oh shit. And I like lower it as slowly as I can to my chest. And I'm thinking back. I'm like trying to think. I was like, how do I get this off of me?
Yeah.
I'm like sitting there on a bench in a dark gym. Like
Yeah.
I don't turn on the lights. And I'm like trying to like move the weight. And I'm like, the collars are on. I'm
Yeah.
like, shit. And I try to like roll it up, try to push it over my face. And like, that's a dub idea. And it's like on my throat. I'm like, shit. And like my arms horrible.
That's
It's
the
hurting
worst
again.
feeling, man.
Yeah. And like, it just popped again because it's been bad for years.
Yeah.
And I finally push it down to my chest again. I can grab it with my left arm again. And I have like under over grip and I'm pushing it to my hips where I can finally breathe. And I sit up and I'm like, cool, I'm just going to pick it up and put it down. And then I rack the weight I killed the music and I went right back next door to try to just like lay down and relax for a bit for like 10 more minutes until the kids class starts.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that sucked.
Yeah, dude, that is a scary feeling if you've ever been lifting weights and that has happened to you, regardless of what the weight is, right? You don't have a spotter, you're fucked.
Dude, honestly, as soon as I got it off of me, because they have like ring cameras in there, and core aesthetics, I'm like looking at the ring. I was like, I really hope no one's freaking watching right now. That was so embarrassing. I was thinking in my head, I was like, you know what? If someone does see it, I'm like, hey, can you screen record and send to me? Because like I dropped 4 or 5 on my chest. But I'm 190 pounds.
Yeah.
And I got 385.
Yeah.
Finally on camera. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not asking anyone because they're going to see what I had to do after that. Like, no.
You don't want them knowing about that. You'll never hear the end of it.
I told them about it like a month ago when they asked me, hey, how come you haven't been like in here lifting? I was like, so what happened was, and we're like Cyrus, like, what happened? Like, Athena, she's one of the owners there, her and her husband. I was like, what happened? Like, like, what did you just say? I was like, I just told you. It was like, who was here? Who was at the gym? And I was thinking in my head, I was like, I was In Shape.
Yeah, wasn't here.
Yeah, I wasn't here. Like, no one was in the same area as me. I was, I'm fine. It's okay. He said, okay, good. I was like, shit.
Yeah, man, that's crazy, dude. So do you think, I had Will Alexander on not that long ago, and he was saying like, dude, you got to lift and lift crazy, and he's really into CrossFit and strength and conditioning. Some people have a theory that can be bad for your joints and jiu-jitsu and different things. Like, do you have a preference, or like, what's your thoughts on it?
My thing is, like, my opinion just based off of what everyone's been telling me for years and what I'm just now discovering because I'm finally listening a little bit, you need to stretch.
Yeah.
And I never stretched growing up. I just
true.
started stretching in this past like week and a half of like getting back into working out, getting consistent again, and trying to be more mobile and not hurt myself so much. You got to stretch.
Yeah.
And whether you're doing calisthenics, you're doing CrossFit, powerlifting, like if you're gonna work out, go ahead and work out. Like, I'm not going to tell you to work out. I'm not going to tell you not to work out. Just, if you're trying to lose weight, take steps to lose weight. And working out is great, but, you also got to factor in diet. That's the only way you're going to lose the weight. If you want to get stronger, hell yeah, work out. But pick your poison, like do what you can and will do consistently. Yeah. So Will, like his CrossFit journey, that's great for him.
Yeah.
I like powerlifting more. Yeah. So that's my thing. I like doing calisthenics a bit more. Not super calisthenics, like super deep into calisthenics. I'm not going to go and bust out like 10, 15 freaking muscle ups and do that for like 10 sets.
Right.
But I'll go and do like some push-ups and some pull-ups and some sit-ups and get that going with my workout. But whatever you choose to do to like stay in shape, even if it's just rolling, just don't stop.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
stretch.
I feel like too, like you never see those big power lifter guys stretching before they're doing anything. Like at least at the gym, the public gyms, In Shape City, you see all these big yoked out guys. And they're just grabbing the weights and sizing up their tank tops and making sure that everyone knows they're lifting, right?
Yeah.
So stretching's huge, man. We were talking about it with my friends this morning in our group message and talking about cupping and if it's effective or not, right? Because there's a lot of different theories on that. But one of my buddies brought up the most important thing is you got to stretch, right? No matter what, you got to stretch it out. Maybe if cupping does work with stretching, like I don't know, but it is something to think about and something to consider. Stretching is very crucial, like especially as you get older, right? Like you don't know about this. You're still a young man, but as I get older,
doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, as I get old, well, you're a veteran in grappling, so you definitely feel the body aches and all that stuff.
It's just like the first week where like I'd be like trying to stretch at least, or like the first couple of days, because like beginning of the week was horrible. Like first couple of days where like when I start stretching, my legs aren't shaking. Yeah. Because like my hamstrings, my IT band aren't like super tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very crucial, man. Like I'll notice if I don't stretch or anything before practice, I'll have some pretty crazy rolls. Like, dude, I feel it the next day. Like my shit's fucked. Like I could barely move. I always say I feel like I got in a car accident. Like sometimes it's like that, right?
Sometimes it is.
But man, it's been awesome getting to chat with you and have you on, dude. And like I said, you know, you're the final boss, right, of the Foster family. You know, and I appreciate what you're doing, man. You're an awesome guy, and I think your personality is great, and it's been an absolute honor to have you on the show. I just want to give you a few minutes to shout out whoever you'd like to. Just take the floor, man.
Like the next podcast?
No, shout out your homies, man.
Oh, shout out my homies.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if you listen to this podcast, like you've already heard, my dad, Kalani Foster, my brother, Alika, one of my favorite training partners, David and Richard Lott. Who else has been on here from BBB?
Will.
Yeah, Will. Has Kirk been on here yet?
No.
Wonder how much he would talk. It depends on how much he smokes. Definitely.
We can make him talk.
You make him talk. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. I do have one more question before I let you go. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, when I had Lott on, I was asking him about his diet, right? And he told me he's a taco 12-pack, no sauce. What is your diet like? I asked somebody else, and they were like an In-N-Out person or something like that. So what's your guilty pleasure or your specific diet?
Whether or not I eat throughout the day, because sometimes I do forget, or sometimes I just don't have my wallet on me, so I just don't buy anything. Whether or not I eat throughout the day is usually 2 to 3 packs of ramen at night.
Yeah.
Whether or not I have eggs in it, and then honestly, most days I'll have like 4 like gas station bottles of Dr. Pepper or Sprite, and like a family size bag of chips to myself.
Damn.
And what else? Sometimes I'll get some Twinkies. It's like my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Other than that, I try to eat something with eggs. I try to eat something with eggs.
Did you hear that like something about like ramen's bad for you?
I heard that everything's bad for you.
People's dying from eating top ramen.
I mean, there's no way they're dying from just ramen.
That's what.
So
I
like,
heard.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe that ramen is bad. Like, it's definitely not good. There's no nutritional value whatsoever.
Unless you throw the eggs.
Yeah, unless you add eggs. Eggs is perfect. Eggs and soy sauce and a little bit of lime. But yeah, no, I've heard that. I've heard that about ramen. I've heard that about Cheetos. I honestly believe that about anything that's processed.
Yeah.
And after like hearing about and like researching and seeing how like different foods like are grown and stuff in like different countries.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking a trip to Tahiti next month.
Okay.
Like they don't have like any kind of processed foods.
Yeah.
Like even our vegetables are like processed one way or another.
Genetically modified.
Yeah,
or
genetically
some
modified
shit.
stuff. Yeah, I'm like, dude, none of it's healthy.
Yeah.
Like any of it.
Well, my wife's on a kick with like dyes, right? Red dye 40 and shit like that. And she's like, dude, like in other countries, this stuff is banned. Like literally it kills people. So the country said nope. And these big manufacturers of, hot Cheetos or whatever, they're sending different shit over there.
Yeah.
So like we really have to be conscious of our food and, the kind of shit that we're eating. And if that's all we fill our body with is junk food and shit like that, like we're going to be in a world of hurt somewhere.
I definitely believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I also believe like ignorance is bliss.
Right.
Like it's nice like not knowing these things, but you do got to know.
Oh yeah.
So definitely don't eat just that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like it's consuming some kind of like any small amount of like a chemical or whatever is it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Especially like in this country. So whatever you eat, make sure you eat a little bit of good. If you're gonna eat a little bit of bad, make sure you work out.
Right. Working out's key.
Yeah. Drink your water.
If you're just eating that nasty shit all the time and you're not doing anything, that's how you turn into a big motherfucker.
Yeah.
So.
Obviously, like I would say, like for that kind of stuff, anyways, actively avoid it if you have a health concern.
Yeah.
If you don't, wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Why not?
You're right.
Enjoy yourself. Wait till after you get diabetes.
Right.
Don't worry about the pre-diabetic stage.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You don't have it yet.
You'll lose it. It's fine. It takes time. It's a progression.
Oh, man. Well, dude, it's been awesome having you on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to come out here and record with us. Thank you again. Make sure you go download the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Check us out. Give us a review. Reviews go a long ways with podcasts. So if you're out there and you got the time, just give us a quick little review. Let us know what you're liking about the podcast. And we're always taking messages, trying to, come up with guests for you guys. So let us know who you'd like to see on. Thank you, Cyrus, once again for being a part of this. And we are...
This is Grapplers Talk.